Hey everybody, welcome to our pre-market stream that we do every single Wednesday via YouTube that we open up to the public. Thanks for joining us this morning. This is Spartan speaking, by the way. I'm going to give you a little bit of a breakdown of what's going to happen this morning. Once I'm done talking here, that's going to come on, give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that happen over the course of the evening. She'll also go through some ETFs or any names that she's been looking at in the short to long term that matter for today. After that's done, I'm going to come on. We're going to go through some names that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll talk about the news associated with those gap up, gap downs. We'll build an action plan for the open, and then we'll go through the SPY and the FANG. We'll do the same thing there as well. Once I'm done that, I'm going to pass over to South Beach, who will come on, give you a breakdown of the macro environment as well, and the analyst calls that he likes for the day, as well as individual names. And then we'll do a quick little recap of what I talked about and go through the action plan, and then we'll be ready for the open. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, pass over to Beth, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Beth, if you're ready, it's all yours.
I am indeed, my friend. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to those of you joining us through the YouTube live stream. Excuse me. Being a commodity specialist, today is a very special day, as you can imagine, with what's going on, and we'll go into a little bit more detail with that. So that's my doggy. Anyways, moving on. Some soft data out of Australia on the retail sales side. This is, I like to look at the Belt and Road countries that China is involved with to see whether we're seeing any sort of turnaround. This obviously is a negative for us in the market. It's something we have to start paying attention to, guys. Okay, so Hong Kong, right? Starting to see a growth explosion again. Wave 2 of the virus, we're seeing it in China. This is not done by a long shot, and I'm kind of surprised with some of the reactions with the news coming out. You know, doesn't make any sense to me, but hey, the market never lies, right? Yesterday, API, you know I hate it, but anyways, it was a large build, 7.5 million. That knocked down oil for a bit. Only data for today is the home sales, existing home sales. And then we have another crude inventories. Lovely. All right. What happened? Well, this is not good. U.S. says it told China to close the Houston consulate. China says, well, I'm going to retaliate. Just when we think we're kind of at a level that things can't get much worse between the U.S. and China, surprise, it does. First statewide coronavirus study in U.S. shows infections might, well, this is not a surprise to anybody, right? It's all about testing. We under-tested, now we're seeing it. But I do think that the youth of today in the United States think that they're bulletproof. I think they're about to find out, no, that's not the case. President, yesterday, masks are our friends and patriotic. Wow, okay. And he says things are going to get worse before they get better. That's a nice script the dude was reading from, right? U.S., not so proud. 1/4 of the world's 15 million cases come from the U.S. Lovely. All right. GDP. Right now, with all the data, 13.19% for Q3. This should not be surprising to anybody, but it's impressive. Flow algo, what did we see yesterday? We did see some GLD sweeps, but as a whole, this is what's important, 75% call flow versus 25% put flow. As long as we see the high beta tech names continuing to consolidate, pull back a little bit, but then move higher, as long as Spartan tells us that everything technically is still intact, growth. And this is the debate. Yesterday it was valuation over growth, and today, guess what? It's growth over valuation. And we're alternating back and forth, which is really quite something. Right. Sentiment, what we got going on here. A little bit of a pullback yesterday. It was in the 80s, now it's in the 70s. Brazil's in the upper 80s. China is actually at, it did pop a little bit, but China has opportunity there for us in terms of the overall scheme of things. Australia, too high. But don't forget, guys, all it takes is one day to reset these. Right? But it just is an indication of, okay, are we frothy? Where are we frothy? Well, here's the heat map of ETFs. No surprises, right? Silver's on it, GDXJ's on it, Germany, all over the place, retail, et cetera, et cetera. That's in the short time frame, but I like to look at the 10-day, okay? And the 10-day moving average does not, except for copper, lumber, and this is where we start to get into the commodities section, right? Everything else is fine. No really overbought, stuff like that. So you're going to have these little gyrations on the short term, day to day. But if you look in terms of the longer day, and if you look at the 50-day moving average, we're fine. Right? So this is a tailwind telling me that, yeah, we may be a little overbought short term, as in days, but if you go out weeks, everything's fine. Right? VIX, what's going on here? And this is another indication, guys, that you have to be careful with how you interpret the data, right? So if you look at it from this perspective, after VIX falls for more than 14 weeks or the past 18 weeks, it would look to you as though bullish for the VIX 1 month, 2 month out. 100% statistical about it. That's okay. But this is where things get a little bit wonky. S&P after the VIX falls, right? You can see here that it actually is net bearish, right? But this is what I want you to look at right here. S&P after VIX term structure went from greater over 1 to 6-month low in the past 3 months, okay? I want you to start thinking, okay, when this starts, this is just the beginning of these moves. Right? Here it basically shows that it's negative, right? But in reality, it's positive because it's the first time. Okay, you can see here in this cycle right here, first time. So like I said, you have to be really careful with how you interpret the data. Not so much that it's wrong, it's what you compare it to that matters. Okay? Silver, let's talk about it. Breaking out. My conviction has borne fruit. Overweight on silver. I'm very proud of this, but we'll go over the charts and stuff like that. We don't want silver leading. I keep saying that just the same way we don't want small caps leading. But anyways, what we got going on here? Silver, after greater than 6.7% daily gain while it's at a 1-year high. You would say, hey, Beth, this is bearish, right? And I say, au contraire. Okay, if you look at this as a breakout, you look at this right here. Yeah, let me get this bigger for you guys. Okay, this is the first print. Look what happened to it. You get a parabolic move. This is the first print. You get a parabolic move. Here you did not, okay? But don't forget, we're talking about multi-month, multi-year breakout, industrials, et cetera, et cetera. This is my story. I'm sticking to it. This is what we're going to be looking for, a parabolic move in silver like we saw here. Okay. Gold, after silver, greater than 6.7%, yada, yada, yada. Not as bullish as you would think, but I would say, au contraire. First print, parabolic move. First print, parabolic move. Here it was not, here it was not, here it was not. Okay, but once again, this is what I'm looking at. And this is why I've been pounding the table. Multi-month, multi-year rally in gold and silver. Right? Okay, let's take a look at some of these commodity ETFs, all right? So the DBB, this is base metals, okay, copper, zinc, aluminum. We are in the process of breaking a multi-month, multi-year downtrend line. So this is one that we're going to be going after once it breaks and confirms. Right? LIT, this is the EV trade in terms of nickel and lithium. It has Tesla in it, I know, but still ALB is in it. This is something that I'm watching Why? Multi-month, multi-year potential breakout on the downtrend line. I've been in this since back here, but I didn't shout it out. But I will shout out if it does break and hold above it, okay? XLI, the industrial ETF. Okay, so that's LM Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, yada, yada, yada. Where are we? Still consolidative, too early to say. But if my narrative is right, this is where you want to be as opportunity. We really can't do anything with it though, guys, until we take out this double top. Right? SLX, this is not the right one. SLX, let's see, VanEck Steel, this is it right here. There we go. Okay. This is the steel ETF, and this is the one you want to take a peek at. We have a nice bottom in place, right? Okay. And as you can see here, we'll see if we can continue to rally and break this downtrend line. So the theme right now is all about industrial metals, precious metals, where we are, where we're going. Okay, commodities. Okay, we break this top, move up here. I'll have a buy entry level on it on a break of this top, which comes in at 30.89 on SLX. Right. So all of this is setting up as incredibly bullish. This is the agricultural ETF. This is a tough one. And the reason why I say it's a tough one is because of what's going on with restaurants, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if I'm actually going to play this one. If I do, it'll be really small amounts because I just don't know how this turns around. So what I think is going to happen, this is my narrative, bigger picture narrative, is on the agricultural side, those who are farmers, basically they have a tough decision to make. Do they basically farm less or produce less because as an offset to the demand? And then what happens is they raise their prices, and then you see a spike as we start to exit out of the virus. Then you see a spike, and it causes inflation. I do believe we're going to have a price-based inflation. But it's too soon yet, right? This is just off the top of my head. This is what I think is going to happen. We started to see a couple of the miners, industrial miners say, hey, because we had to shut down some of our mines, we're going to start we're producing less, so we're going to raise the prices. This is the cycle that causes the multi-year event in commodities, price inflation. You can't see it now. It's going to happen. It has to happen because of supply and demand. The supply side, the supply chain is being disrupted, whether it's because of shutdowns, intentional or less farming or whatever. And then once the demand kicks up, there's going to be a laggard effect, which is going to cause a spike in inflation. Where are we with this? It could be months away, maybe years. But that's just my narrative. CRB, what we got going on here, the problem with the CRB is the largest component is oil. And this is the problem. Right? That's why I'm showing these other ETFs as an alternative to the CRB. And this is what we want to focus in on. Right? Up. So proud. We nailed it, guys, on the short side. Told everybody, shout it out. You got to get short UUP. We entered it. We're already starting to take some profits on it. What I'm going to do now is I'm basically, because if you look in terms of from the high to the low, it was a 12-month boat. So if we assume that this is the high right here, we have a decline in the US dollar going out to March 2021. This has implications, huge implications. Implications in terms of multinational companies. Don't forget, guys, I started in the business in the foreign exchange department, bonds, etc., commodities. So this is what I did. Right? This is not a function of the Fed. Right? Other things are going on, and it could be minutiae involvement. The guy he's a smart dude, right? And the administration has wanted a devaluation of the dollar. It's not going to come from the Fed, right? It's going to come from Mnuchin on the side channel, stuff like that. I also think that China, we're going to start to see some of these countries starting to sell some of their holdings on the bond side, right? I think that we're going to see rotation, money flows, right? A lot of the money came into the US because it was the best and the brightest. I think now, in terms of investment, the Eurozone with that big stimulus package is going to be a benefit of it. China is doing what it can to basically show an alternative globally from the US dollar. So they're starting to do, they have crude is in gold, right? They're starting to offer opportunity for other investment type vehicles away from the US dollar. This is a good thing, okay? This is a good thing for the multinationals. They'll start to see their balance sheet improve. The strong dollar was really hurting them. It'll allow them to be more competitive, okay, overseas. So this is a huge tailwind that will occur to multinationals. What we'll see is analysts will start to raise their ratings. There'll be guidance will be raised because of this. So this dollar decline can offset a lot of what some of these multinationals are experiencing on the demand side. Right? Silver. All right. So what do we know? My narrative is, this is my narrative. We're going to enter a multi-year event similar to what we saw in the financial crisis of 2008. What does that look like? It looks like, in the short term, 7-week move, okay? So 7 bars. That gets us, this is what we're looking at right here. That gets us to the end of August. And if you believe in the symmetry like I do on a measured move, where does that get us on silver? Bingo, 27.79, okay? But we're not done. We're gonna have a pullback that occurs, right, on this explosive parabolic move. It's going to basically come back into the breakout, which would be down here, and that's where you load up, okay, for the next move, which is going to be explosive, which will last 30 weeks, okay, from its onset. So the onset started here. So basically that gets us to February 2021. The price target on this is 28.265. 28.265 gets us almost a double top, 47.75, around triple, okay? We can get a little bit beyond it as an explosive. This is why, guys, if you take profits, you always keep something on. You don't exit it with the intention and the knowledge, okay, yeah, it's gonna pull back. I don't care. I'm gonna load up again. This is how we basically got into gold successfully. This is how I basically said silver has catch up to do. Hadn't even taken out the 2016 baby bull high. This is how we are basically crushing it right now in the precious metals. Gold, where are we here? Okay, same narrative, but it's a little bit different. Okay, this is going to basically take a little bit more time. These are the price targets I'm looking for. 1924, but more like up here, guys. Right here, 2065. Out of this move, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, on gold. Let's look at our ratios, gold, silver. Believe it or not, gold is outperforming silver. I did not realize that. I'm very pleased with that. Why? We don't want silver leading, because if silver leads, then we're basically at near top. So where are we here? We're at a double top right now in the monthly. This spread has to pop. Okay, we want to see gold outperform silver, right? Here's gold crude. This is heavily, heavily traded, guys. Right? This is very liquid. This is a spread that many countries, many institutions use. All right, what do I want to see happen? I want to see gold pop this top here, start to flag, curl up, and go higher. Okay. Crude. Until we break and hold above this on a weekly basis, this is a top. what do I teach? You want to buy when nobody wants to buy, and you want to sell when nobody wants to sell. Right? The reason why I think gold and silver can go higher is because I'm really not seeing that much in terms of option flows. I want to see, if I see lots of prints on silver, okay, today we could get a 2% move. I mean, a $2 move in silver today, guys. That's when you want to start selling some off. I basically, on the swing side, I told them to basically buy SLV, pre-market, okay? On the break of this, there was on the hourly downtrend that occurred at 22.79 to 80. Okay. I'm looking for this to be a huge, huge update. Okay. All right, let's talk about what's going on overseas. I get questioned, well, Beth, why are you looking at BABA against this, BABA against that? The reason why I look at BABA on spreads is I want to know whether this is across the board a strength or whether it's a strength in an individual ticker. That's what I want to know. All right, so right here, BABA, BABAlicious. I am in this BABAlicious. I think it's going higher. The reason being is that if anyone is going to be as an institution investing in China, this is where they're going to go. Right? They're going to go to, or some of the ETFs. Okay, but on an individual ticker name, it's going to be BABA. Right? Let's see if we can break this down trend line on the weekly. That would be super cool. And it basically comes in at 262 plus. Right? That's what I'm looking for. Beautiful flag, consolidation. Let's see if we can break it and move the next leg higher. BABA FXI. So BABA is outperforming the FXI, which is basically the large caps on China. So that tells us it is a BABA move. Right? BABA A shares. Fascinating. Okay. The reason why I like A shares, and I keep telling you, is I think the MSCI is going to increase their weighting again on China. I don't know whether it's going to be weeks or months, but as you can see here, BABA toe-to-toe with A shares. A shares is actually holding up pretty well. Right? It has not broken this downtrend line. So I'm not sure how this plays out, but I'm in both BABA and A shares. Okay. And I have FXI puts on as a hedge. And here we go, BABA Baidu. Once again, BABA top dog, Baidu meh. Right? So this is why I use these, right, as an indication. Okay. For those of you who are new and watching, this is a technically driven market. It's that simple. Momentum. You're getting rotation almost every day. Growth, valuation, growth, valuation. We're not getting consistent price actions. But when you get these momentum breakouts of all-time highs, daily, weekly, monthly, it doesn't matter. Those are where you want to be because we are getting follow through on those, right? And that's why it is so important, especially those who are new to the room, is following Spartan because that's what he's giving us. He's giving us the momentum technical breakouts. He is the momentum king, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's going up or it's going down. We do not care. He will guide us on that, right? The commodities are set. The table's been set. The narrative is already set. We go from there. It's earnings season, so we have to be aware of that, okay, with all of these cross currents, right? VIX, this is another important thing, guys, all right? VIX held key support yesterday, all right? That is notable divergence. Let us see what happens with that. Okay. My friend, are you ready?
30 seconds, Beth.
Okay. So yesterday, Spartan started to shout out VXX trades as a hedge. I agree with that 100%. Okay. This held up fine and it reclaimed, okay, the 400 EMA. Let's see if it can actually break this downtrend line. Then if it does, then we can start looking for an extension on the upside. And that basically would be a move back up close to the 200. So that would be 28.48, maybe a little bit higher, 28.95. Right? This would make sense, guys, where we are in this cycle. Right? The VIX is basically going to be a trade, right, that is a hedge. Gold and silver is not, that's not what's going on there, guys. That's a function of the US dollar. Don't confuse the two, all right? The next thing would be the TLT. Where are we here? FOMC is next week. This is dead money for now. You would think with the sort of move that we're having in the gold, okay, as well as commodity side, that we would have popped this top in the VIX. That's notable. My inclination is we don't pop the top. We probably break this up trend line, but there's no trade, yes. I will buy out of the money if we break and hold above this double top right here, okay? And that comes in at 168.21. And guess what, guys? It's going to be a lotto size because every time we've done this, okay, it hasn't worked for the last, well, few weeks. So I'll still do it though, because technically it'll be breaking out on the daily, right? So either we break the uptrend line here or we pop the top. So that's kind of where I am on that. I do want to talk a little bit about the on the XLI side before I have to pass it over to Spartan. This is important, okay? If indeed we are going to start seeing a recovery, industrial recovery, all right, this is where you want to be, okay, on XLIY. And if you look at here on the XLB, which is the material side, it's already broken out. Right? So what am I thinking here? What I'm thinking here is that because the XLB, this is another reason why costs will go up. So the materials, those who are producing for the industrial materials, okay, we're seeing that go up. This is another narrative for inflation, price increases. We started to see it on the copper side, some tickers or some companies raising their prices. That's going to be important, right? So Cleveland Cliffs that I've been shouting out to you, that has been sweeping, basically the news came out that, yeah, they are going to raise their prices, right? And this is where we want to be. If I see these types of sweeps coming in, okay, on the industrial side, I will post them, I will follow them, right? I'm waiting patiently to see if Cleveland Cliffs is going to break this downtrend line. And if you look at it on a weekly.
All right, Beth, I'm ready to go.
What? All right, my friends.
All right, guys, morning. What's going on? Let me just pop up the screen share here. There we go. So if you guys are new to chat today, if you guys are just joining the live chat today, I'm going to be posting the Discord link at the end of the YouTube stream, so you have to be patient to wait for that. You can shoot an email to my admin, but I'm sure that you probably won't get into it until later anyway, so you'll have to be just patient for the next little bit. So if you guys are new to chat, just keep that in mind. So welcome to the pre-market stream. A couple different names that we're looking at this morning, guys. Pre-market tickers on watch: Tesla, Shop, BNTX, NVAX, FE, MXC. So let's take a look at these names. In regards to the market, it's gapping up slightly here. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's start with the first two. Tesla and Shop. Tesla, obviously we got earnings today. Tesla gapping up a little bit in continuation before today's earnings. So we'll see what happens there. Shop, slight bounce after yesterday's sell-off as well. BNTX, Pfizer, BioNTech linked deal with the U.S. government for the 600 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine. Stocks gapping up slightly on that. Novavax executives could get paid big payday even if the vaccine fails, so that stock's gapping down a little bit. FE, multiple downgrades. First Energy Corp statement on HB6 investigation as well today, and then MXC, low float name, gapping up on some volume this morning after the run up in the after hours last night. So let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First couple names that we're going to be looking at are, so like I said, Tesla and Shop. So let's take a look at these. So Tesla, a little bit of a bounce this morning here after yesterday's sell-off. Let's just delete this. Let's delete this. we're good. All right. So a lot of these levels already charted out here. So let's take a look at what we got going on today. So the 1608 level is going to be the pivot to the upside today. What's the pivot point? Pivot point is just a major support or resistance level on the daily chart, which will cause direction intraday for extended period of time. So in this case, it's the 1608 level. If this level is able to hold, we got room for continuation to 1656.12 to 1717.93. Unable to hold that level, we look for continuation lower onto the downside to 1549.91 to the 1505.94 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning bullish, looking for continuation to the upside today, only if we can get above that 1608.24 level and hold. So we got to get above that level. Otherwise, we will see continuation to the downside intraday here. So that's that. Let's take a look at the shop. So I'm going to be leaning bullish actually on Tesla. I think we do get a little bit of a push before the earnings, just because of the high short interest on the name. There's going to be a little bit of pressure to the upside before earnings. So I will be looking for a reclaim of that pivot this morning. Unable to do so though, obviously we'll be looking for continuation down. I will only be leaning bullish if we get above that level. That's going to be the key. All right, let's take a look at shop here. See how we see the levels line up here. Just going to delete these and we'll replant them a little bit closer so it's easier to see. All right, so shop, a little bit of an hourly flag setting up in the short term. Longer term, you can see that on the daily. There's a flag range break set up to the upside. Let me just show you this. Slash flag as well. That's been forming. Back above EMA support in the pre-market here. We'll see if it can hold this morning. Key level this morning is going to be this 970, 174 level. If this level is able to hold, we got room for continuation back towards 998.81 to 1019.25. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 947.70 to 924.78 on the downside. Overall on shop, I will be leaning bullish. If we can get above that pivot point, we should see continuation to the upside today. I'm going to be leaning bullish, looking for a reclaim of that level and a push to the upside. So that's going to be shop, and that's Tesla. Let's take a look at the next two, BNTX and NVAX. Just going to take a screenshot of these. BNTX, obviously huge flag break set up on the hourly. To have it extended on the daily chart, that's notable. Let's take a look at where we got room to today. Okay, so, whoops, did not mean to delete that. Okay. So, pivot points to the upside today, 97.09. Stock's obviously trying to break out, continue to the upside on that news. Definitely extended on the daily now to the upside. So 97.09 pivot levels able to hold room towards 99.89. This level breaks, we see further continuation on BNTX into the 102.73 spot. That level breaks, we can see a further pop towards the 105.56. Unable to hold the pivot, look for a pullback to 93.31 to 90.04 on the downside. Overall this morning, going to be leaning bullish, going to be looking for a pop, and I want to see some topping occur on this name for a short to line up. So I do think it's, like I said, extended on the daily to the upside, quite extended. I do think it can get continuation. We'll have to wait for the topping to occur, but at some point, I think today it will occur. We can look for a decent pullback on it. So that's that. Let's take a look at NVAX. Okay, this still looks fine. Okay. So a little bit of a pullback today. So 135.84 pivot to the downside today. If this level is unable to hold, we got room for continuation lower into the 128.59 support. If this level breaks, we see 124.52 tested on the downside. Able to hold the 135.84 pivot, look for a bounce back towards 143.42 to that 149.76 range on the upside. Overall on NVAX, going to be leaning a little bit more on the bearish side today. Looking for continuation lower if that pivot's unable to hold. So we'll see what happens this morning. But if that pivot's unable to hold, EMA support will be broken on the daily. Should have a little bit of room to the downside. So that's BNTX and that is NVAX. All right, let's take a look at the next two, which are FE and MXC. So FE continues to sell off in the pre-market, bunch of downgrades, etc., etc. Let's see where we got room to today. Obviously, breaking this 32 spot, massive range break to the downside on the daily. So that's obviously bearish. Okay. So pivot to the downside today on this FE is going to be 32 bucks. That level is unable to hold. Room for continuation towards the 29.45 level and into the 27s. Able to hold, we can see it bounce back towards 34.98 to the 37.07 level on the upside. Overall on FE, going to be leaning bearish. Looking for continuation to the downside today. If that 32 level is unable to hold, we should see that fade a little bit lower. I do think we can get to the 29.45 to 27s, and then at that point, it's going to be a pretty big move in the last couple of days. You probably will see some sort of a bounce. So we'll see what happens there, but for now, more downside, certainly. So let's take a look at the next two. Sorry, the next one, I should say. MXC. So low float name. Pushing to the upside after yesterday's pre-market volume. Let's just see if I can see if this was a reverse split. Go back to it. Okay. Looks about right. So pivot to the upside today, guys, will be 905. Levels able to hold, we are back towards the 1170 retracement level, and then if that level breaks, we can see further room to the all-time highs, 1450s. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback to 616 to the 464 level on the downside. Overall on MXC, going to be leaning on the bullish side of the gate, looking for a pop this morning and then topping to occur after the momentum dies down. Not sure where that will be, but it does look like it can get some further continuation to the upside. This morning, volume's pretty decent in the pre-market. A little bit of a curl holding the 50 MA as well. It's not a bad look at all for a continued pop here. So that's what I'll be looking for. So FE and MXC, take a screenshot of these two. Oops. And let's move on to the SPY and the FANG. So market basically gapping down a little bit here. Change that to this. Let's just take a look at the daily. I want to see if the gap did fill or not. It should be filled from that pre-market pull, but let's just see. Yeah, the gap's filled. Okay, great. but we are testing right at the bottom of the counts. Interesting. Okay. So what's going on with the SPY here? Market was a little bit extended to the upside yesterday. It filled the gap at the end of the day, and this morning the pre-market. So that's more bullish than anything. However, pivot to the upside today is this level, and it's a big level this morning. It's 324.92. This is where the top Kettler channel is as well as a big resistance level on the daily. If we're able to reclaim this level, we will have room back towards 326.53. That level breaks, we can see 327.91. Unable to hold, we look for a continuation lower towards 325.54 to 322.56 spot on the downside, possibly getting to 321.27. So it's all going to lie on this right this morning, 324.92. If that level reclaims, we will have more room. Unable to reclaim, we will sell off, continue to the downside. Overall on the SPY right now, I'm leaning more on the bullish side, but unless it reclaims that pivot support, I don't see us bouncing at all. So pivot's going to be the big thing that's out the gate this morning. That's going to dictate, I think, which direction we go. The NTX, guys. Next resistance on the upside right now, 102.73, breaking the flag to the upside. In the pre-market, if you guys wanted to trade something in the pre-market, there you go. Something moving. All right, let's take a look at Apple. Saw a little bit of a rejection at that intra-flag range break yesterday. Pretty high level, okay. So pivot to the upside on Apple today is going to be 389.64. This level is able to hold. We got room for continuation into the 392.13 to 396.76 level. Unable to hold it for pullback towards 386.94 and then into the 384.65 level on the downside. We got a little bit of a downtrend break on the hourly right now that it needs to hold above, but the key levels this morning will still be this pivot point to the upside. Be the same thing as the SPY. I mean, without breaking the pivot to the upside, we won't see that move up. I will be leaning bullish neutral on Apple, looking for a reclaim of the pivot and a grind higher today. But we'll see what happens out the gate. I like the fact that the downtrend's broken, holding EMA support on the daily. See what happens if we can reclaim the pivot. Amazon. So it was a little bit extended pullback to the EMA support. Yesterday held it literally right to the EMA support and held it. That in itself is bullish price action. Okay, so Amazon, pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be this level right here. 31.42, this level is able to hold. We should have room for continuation towards 31.96 and back towards last day's high area, 32.41. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 31.03 to 30.60 on the downside. I will be leaning more on the bullish side of Amazon today, looking for continuation to the upside as long as it can hold above that pivot point. I do like the fact that it filled the gap on the daily to the downside there yesterday, and I think now we can see more of a sustainable move to the upside. So we'll see what happens. Pivot's going to be the key level though, for sure. So that's Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix. So same levels as after the earnings, I guess. 49.02, pivot levels able to hold over 500, the 511.40 unable to hold 477.57 to 464.93. I guess I'll be leaning on the bullish neutral side, looking for a grind higher today on Netflix, as long as it can hold above that pivot point. Some pin, looks like some pin action occurring here. Interesting. So that's Netflix. Let's take a look at Facebook. So Facebook 240.41. Pivot levels able to hold her towards 243.87. Unable to hold 237.22 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Facebook, kind of leaning on the bearish neutral side. Actually, looks like a bear flag is forming on the hourly, so I think that we may see a little bit of a sell-off today on it. So I'll be leaning bearish neutral on Facebook today. Could be wrong. Obviously, if the pivot holds, then it's going to be bullish. So watch the pivot point this morning. A lot of these names are sitting right on their pivot, so it's going to be interesting to see how they react on the open. Google yesterday didn't pull back at all. Some decent relative strength there, sitting right near the all-time highs. 15.55 pivot, unable to hold towards 15.31, able to hold 15.78 to 15.96. Will be tested on the upside. I am leaning more on the bullish neutral side of Google, looking for a ground higher. I like the fact that it stayed up yesterday and it had some relative strength there. So we'll see what happens today going forward. Let's take a look at the VXX real quick, and then I'll pass it to South Beach. So VIX, VXX, 29.80 pivot point level today. Unable to hold towards 28.80 to 28.13. Able to hold. Look for a continuation of 30.56 on the upside. Pretty big level, this 29.80. This will be a key level to watch as well with the market. If this level gets reclaimed, you will probably see the market sell off a bit. I have started to hedge with some VXX because it's a little bit cheap down here. A couple weeks out, calls to the upside. Yeah, we'll see what happens. This is usually a pretty good tell of what the SPY is going to do. So keep an eye on this as well this morning. I usually have this up on the side. Watch MXC, guys, as well. A little bit of a pop this morning, 11.77 next resistance. Alrighty, so that's the SPY, that's the FANG. Those are the individual names that I'm looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Beth, South Beach for a little bit, who'll come on, give you a breakdown of the analyst calls for the day, macro environment, anything that he's looking at, and then we'll do a quick little recap for the open. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Morning, guys. Okay, hump day. Let's look at the worst job in America, government bond trading. No movement. 10 years trading just, which is pretty remarkable. Stock market improves, bond market sits here. So forcing money into stocks, no surprise. That's that. China goes from bad to worse. Okay. You saw the news, market was down on that news, just another blip. I think this rhetoric will just intensify until the election. And that's that with China. They'll probably close one of our embassies and the beat goes on. Okay, nothing special out of there. EU and Brexit, hard Brexit, not hard Brexit, it really doesn't matter to us. It's not going to affect our stock market either way. I wish the birds the best. What can I tell you? Election, it seemed up until last night that Trump was doing everything possible to lose the election. If I didn't know better, I'd think he didn't want to be president anymore, and he was just pushing every button to screw up. Last night, he transitioned a little bit to wearing face masks and addressing the big, the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room, a la the virus, and wearing masks and so on and so forth. I think it's too little too late for him, but look, it's 3 months away and a lot can change. Okay. So we'll see. Okay. On the virus front, you had this deal with Pfizer today, securing 100 million doses if they get through phase 3, and an additional 500 million. Effectively, what they're doing is securing vaccines for the whole country, okay, at probably the expense of other countries. I see Israel is trying to do it with AstraZeneca. We'll see what happens. I think all the countries are trying to take care of their own, which makes a lot of sense to me. In the US, it'll be free. That's a negative for these companies that want to charge for it, like a Moderna. But you guys know what I think of Moderna. And it's not that I don't think it's a good company. I just don't trust the management. I think they're sleazeballs. Okay, next, Mr. Market. Mr. Market, clearly V-shaped recovery. Okay, bond market's not saying V-shaped recovery, but I think the bond market's kind of sort of fixed. And you have, excuse me, but the funny thing is that the companies that continue to do well are the companies that would do well under the current circumstances, a la the high PE tech stocks, semiconductor stocks, et cetera, et cetera. So when you see this V-shaped recovery, you have to scratch your head and say to yourself, is the genie out of the bottle and not going back, even if we get a vaccine? And I think to some extent that's really true. Okay, has the status quo changed? They had the CEO of United Airlines on earlier this morning, and one of the questions they asked him is, business travel is really crappy, et cetera, et cetera. Do you see that changing? And, what I'm seeing is, I think a lot of the stuff, the genie out of the bottle won't come back. I don't think business travel will reach the levels pre-COVID for a really long time, if ever. Okay, I see no reason to not use, they had the CEO of Logitech on TV last night, and he has this camera on his desk, and the picture was beautiful, and with the experience was, almost like face to face. So why spend the time and money to go to, a business trip? I mean, I think a lot of the business trips are going to be, done. I think a lot of the convention business is done. And so this new America has come through, these new companies. Amazon, they were talking today that Jeff Bezos' net worth is more than Nike and McDonald's and Costco, the market caps. It shows you what's really happened here. It's really, amazing. And I don't think we're going back. I mean, going into a Macy's store to me is like, going to the dentist. And if I could order online, why the hell would I not? I mean, as long as you know a brand that you like and your size, there's no need to ever go to a store. And I think the next big question is, how do you address these zombie companies? Do you let them go out of business or don't you? Do you prop them up or don't you? And I think they're going to reach the decision that they're going to let zombie companies go out of business. And they're going to see the new America come, a digital America, a more efficient America, a more profitable country. And I think that transition is really taking place. And so when is Macy's and Dillard's and Kohl's coming back? I say never. Okay, when are people going to go to the malls? Why bother? I mean, you can do better. You can go on a hike and spend your time a little more efficiently. I think things are really changing. And I don't think it's going to go back when the virus goes back, when there's a vaccine for the virus. So, the companies that are going to continue to do well are going to be these software companies, okay, where they don't have any employees, like a Netflix, compared to a Disney, which has 88,000 employees. And believe me, I don't consider Disney a zombie company. Disney is maybe a bad choice because they're such a good company, but just compare. They have 1,000 employees for every one. It's crazy. It's crazy. These software companies just ink money. Because they don't have any employees, and they make everybody more efficient and more profitable. So they will continue to do well. The semiconductors have continued to do well. Certain areas will come back better than others, but if the balance sheet is crappy, like a Carnival Cruise Lines or an American Airlines, it's going to be really rough. And transitioning to the airlines for a minute, they make all their money on long-haul flights, I've said this many times, and business travel, okay? If business travel doesn't come back, these stocks are in big trouble, okay, with or without a vaccine, okay? That's how I see it, okay? You all was talking this morning, UAL, how their cash burn is going to go from $40 million loss a day to $25 million. Well, you know what? 25 million is a lot of dough to lose every day. So these companies, now you know why Warren Buffett sold them all. He probably doesn't see them ever coming back. So I think that's kind of interesting also. Let's see if there was anything else in my notes this morning I thought was interesting. Bill Ackman was on today. I'll talk about that in a minute. Best Buy online sales tripled. That's just to my point. Okay. Okay, let's look at research. If there's anything here. Macy's and Kohl's were downgraded to sells by UBS. I agree with that call. Tesla, reiterate to sell. That's a BS call out of, I think it was Bank America. What else was there on the short side? Some people are downgrading this FE this morning because of the bribery thing with those nuclear plants. If this stock gets down, look, this stock is going to go back to where it was, in my opinion. Okay. But it may take a couple of weeks for it to cleanse itself, but it pays a really good dividend. It's a utility stock. They'll punish the company. They'll punish the people involved. And this stock will be a buy. Okay. What level am I kind of thinking? If you can get this stock like down to 28 or 27, I'm going to grab some. Okay. And I'm going to put it away. That's my thinking on FE. This is not a bankruptcy situation. Look, PCG burnt down the state of California, and they're still in business. You think, what are they going to do to FE? They're going to slap them on the wrist. They're going to give a big fine. They're going to throw some people in jail, and the beat goes on. So I think this is a good one. All right. But give it time. Okay. It's not a trade. It is not a trade. All right. Anything else on the short side? Not really. Okay, so let's switch. Oh, CMA Odin. I don't even know who they are. Downgraded it to a sell. I think my two least favorite bank stocks are COF, which had poor earnings, only because I think they're going to have to cut their dividend and so on. And when the Feds brought out that process they go through for regulatory cash and all that stuff, they did poorly. Them and Goldman. Goldman will come out of it. COF won't. So COF and CMA are my least favorite bank stocks. Just so you know, that was downgraded. Let's look at the long side. Texas Instruments, I've always told you guys, this is really high, super high quality semiconductor stock. They put semiconductors in everything. Okay, super duper company. NVIDIA is probably the king, but Texas Instrument is like the blue collar semiconductor company, and they just are amazing. Amazing management for a long time. And they had good earnings and people like that. Okay. One stock, just so you know, I may fade on the opening like I did IBM yesterday, is going to be this Ollie's. I'm going to look to short that, but I have to feel my way into it. Okay. Just so you know. Let's see what else was on the long side that was cool. Apple, Morgan Stanley, reader says they're going to, set up to beat numbers, 419 target there, very good analyst. I like the call out of Citibank. They like Allstate. The chart sets up. The stock has been lagging. If you're going to play insurance stocks, this is a good one. My favorite is Chubb, as you know. Let's see, Piper upgraded, raised the target in COF. I think they're wrong. Let's see if there's anything else. CMRE, hold to buy out of Stifel. They're a container shipping company. I kind of like the call. $8 target, stock's $4.64. I think that's a smart call. Lehman likes Run and Fiserv. I think you're better off trading the momentum, to be honest. And Rosenblatt, who's pretty good, likes MKSI with a 162 target, well positioned. I think this is a decent call. I am not going to play it, I don't think, but these guys, are pretty good. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. On Semi was upgraded, not worth playing. That's kind of it. Let's look at Syndicate. Okay, there's a few deals in the Syndicate world today. Let's look at them. The first IPO is this Jeffrey Albert Mary Frank, JAMF Holdings. Interesting company, okay? They do enterprise mobility management, and they service the classroom and healthcare, education, hospitality, etc. It seems to me like it's a new wave company, which is well positioned. The deal was sized up and the price was raised, and this stock will do well. Okay, I don't know where it's going to open. I would say probably it came at 26, and I think it trades north of 35 on the opening. So this was a good one. Pershing Square, PSTH. He was on TV today talking about this SPAC. I think they're raising a boatload of money. Let's see, they're raising $4 billion, and I think he's putting in another $2 billion in his fund, or $3 billion. So this is going to be like a $7 billion situation. And if you like Bill Ackman or you don't like Bill Ackman or whatever you think about him, the guy's smart. Okay, the guy can smell money. That's my opinion of him. I've watched this guy for many, many years, never met him, but he's as smart as they come, and he knows what the market needs to get going. And I think, it may take a while for him to come up with a deal, but I think when he does, it'll be good. And I think this stock will probably trade at some kind of premium, even though it's strictly cash. The premium is going to be because of Ackman, quite frankly. Okay. Then there's a bunch of secondaries, none of which are worth talking about. And we have 5 more IPOs, five more coming this week, 1 tonight and 4 tomorrow. And that's interesting. BNTX is doing a secondary. 5 million at 85. I'm a little surprised that they're going to still go ahead with this. I'm surprised Pfizer just doesn't give them the money, being that they're so far along in this deal. We'll see what happens, but it wouldn't shock me. So ordinarily, I might want to be short going into a secondary. I will not do that in this name. Okay, I just think they could pull it. So that's my fear in playing the short side of that name. Position-wise, one of the stocks I'm in is this Novin. They announced a private placement. The stock's down this morning on it. Okay. I don't think this is bad news, to be honest with you, and I'll tell you why. They need the money for a phase 3 trial. That's the first thing. Secondly, they didn't pay a bad price. I mean, like some of these times you're in the stock, it goes out at 120 or whatever. They do a secondary in these smaller companies and they price them at 50 or 60 cents or 40 cents or whatever the hell it was. This was priced at 90 cents. So the guy that's buying this is not so much stealing second with 1 foot on first. He's actually making a bet. So I kind of like, I don't think this is bad. And they traded, what, 250 million shares yesterday or some crazy number like that. And it's $33 million. So it's nothing. So when the stock got down to like 102, I added a little bit. I think it's okay. What else am I in? I'm in some of these small names. I have the, the typical stuff I'm always long, but nothing that I'm crazy over. You guys know the names. Okay. Let's see if this is moving this morning. No, that's really it. Let's see if you guys have any questions. Did Square get an upgrade? If you say so. I didn't see it. Barclays 115 to 145. Where's the stock? 127. Yeah, I guess, okay, they did an upgrade. It takes me an hour and a half to go through all these upgrades every day and whatever. I don't think that's going to change anything. What are my thoughts on Snap? We'll see how it trades, but the research on it, these guys are all bullish on Snap. I don't see one guy that was really negative, except someone who's been negative. Adams Harkness reiterates the sell and a $5 target that's unchanged. So this person clearly has their head in there, you know what. So everybody else raised targets, likes the stock, thought the quarter was good, et cetera, et cetera. I'll watch how it trades and make a decision that way, and I'll see what Spartan says. Okay, so that's my thinking on that one. I'm not going to trade it on the opening. Anything else, guys? Moving to Pfizer. Okay, I think that's it. No more questions? Oh, someone like JP Morgan, I think it's premature. One thing that I want to point out before I go, okay, these loan losses these companies are putting on their balance sheet, like COF for argument's sake, raised. What did they do here? I wrote this down. They raised their provision for credit losses from 1.34 to 4.25. This is what's supporting my idea that they're going to let these zombie companies go out of business. Okay, that's a negative for the banks. All right, TAL offering, great. All right, and that's it, guys. I'm going to give it back to Spartan. Thanks for your time.
All righty, thanks, Health Beach. All right, guys, what's going on? Morning. Let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Quick little recap of what we talked about this morning, pre-market tickers on watch, and then I'll post the link for everybody in chat. So a couple different things: Tesla, SHOP, BNTX, NVAX, FE, and then MXC. So Tesla gapping up after yesterday's sell-off, earnings today, so gapping up a little bit ahead of that, I think. SHOP slight bounce after yesterday's sell-off as well. BNTX, Pfizer BioNTech Inc. deal with U.S. government to provide 600 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, gapping up on that. NVAX, Novak executives could get big payday even if the vaccine fails. Stocks gapping down a little bit on that. FE, multiple downgrades this morning. Stock gap down on that. Also, they issued a statement on the HB6 investigation. MXC, low float name gapping up on volume as well. So we got a couple names, different types of things that we're looking at this morning. First two, we're going to be looking at our Tesla and shops. Let's do a quick little recap of these. Oh, and let me just show you this real quick. For the guys that are on YouTube, you can just take a look at the action plan typed up for everything. Tesla shop, BNTX, NVAX, and then FE and MXC. And you can literally just pause it and read it. Alrighty, let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two we're going to be looking at are Tesla and shop. Tesla, 1608.24 pivot. This level is able to hold. Room towards 1656 to 1717.63. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 1549.91 to that 1505.94 level on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning on the bullish side today, looking for a reclaim of the pivot, continuation higher, but it needs to definitely get above this level for that continued push to the upside today. So that's what we'll be watching this morning. So that's Tesla shop. A little bit of a flag on the hourly, 971.74 pivot, levels able to be reclaimed, room back towards 998.81 to 1019.25 on the upside. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 947.70 to the 924 level on the downside. Overall on shop, going to be leaning bullish. If we get above that pivot point this morning, that's going to be the key level to be reclaimed. So we'll see what happens there. Let's take a look at the next two, which are BNTX and NVAX. BNTX pivot to the upside today, guys. 97.09 level holds. Room for further continuation higher into the 99.89 to 102.73 spot. We break that, we can see 105.56. Unable to hold, look for pullback to 93.31 to 90.04 on the downside. Overall on BNTX, going to be leaning on the bullish side today, looking for a continuation higher this morning, and then topping to occur to take the stock short. So that's what we'll be looking for after that. Let's take a look at NVAX. So 135.84 pivot. This level's unable to hold, room towards 128.59 to that 124.52 level. Able to hold it for a push back towards 143.42 to 149.76 on the upside. Overall on this NVAX, I will be leaning a little bit on the bearish side. If it's unable to reclaim its pivot this morning, I'll be looking for continuation to the downside today. So that is that. Let's take a look at the next two, which are FE and MXC. So FE, stock's gapping down, $32 pivot, unable to hold, room towards 29.45 to this 27.83 level. Able to reclaim, look for a push back towards 37.07 on the upside. Overall in this FE, I'm going to be leaning more on the bearish side this morning, looking for a pull into these two areas. And then we'll see if we can get some basing down there to take the stock long. So that's what I'm thinking for that. Alrighty, let's take a look at the next name here, which is MXC, 905 pivot. And I did sell the rest of this thing out this morning after that little pop-up. But 905, guys, pivot today. This level holds towards 1177 to 1450. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 616 to 464 on the downside. Overall on MXC, going to be leaning a little bit on the bullish side out the gate, looking for a pop and topping to occur to take the stock short. So we'll see how much higher we can get it, and then we'll look for that short to occur to take it down. So that is that. Alrighty, so let's take a look at there we go. So let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG here. So SPY, what's the big level today, guys? And this is a huge level this morning, right out the gate. So SPY 324.92 is the pivot to the upside today. Unable to hold. Room lower into the 323.54 support. Breaks, we see the 322.56 level tested. Pivot, able to be reclaimed. Room higher into the 326.53 resistance. Breaks, we see the 327 91 level tested. I'm leaning bullish if the pivot is reclaimed this morning. We'll see if that's able to happen. Big level this morning, 324.92. We'll see. I'm not sure quite yet. Got to see if that level is able to be held on open. All right, let's take a look at the Apple. Apple, 389.64 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. Room for continuation into the 392.13 to 396.76. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 389.94, 384.63. Only leaning bullish, like I said. Same thing on as the SPY. If that pivot's reclaimed, if not, you're probably going to see Apple trade down to the bottom of the range, 384.62, and into that 383 level today. So we'll see what happens there. Looks like we're getting a little bit more profit taking on the tech names in the pre-market already. Amazon, same thing, 31.42 pivot. Levels able to hold, moving back towards 31.96 to 32.41. Unable to hold 31.03 to the 30.60 level will be tested on the downside. Leaning bullish on Amazon if it reclaims that 31.42 today. Otherwise, we'll see a sell-off. Netflix, pivot to the upside today is the 489 level holds and towards 564 to 511.40. Unable to hold, look for pullback to 477.57 to 464.63 on the downside. Same thing, leaning bullish only if the pivot is reclaimed this morning. We'll see what happens there. All right, let's take a look at Facebook. Facebook 248 pivot level holds in towards 243.87. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 237 on the downside. Leaning bearish on Facebook today, looking for a continuation lower. Basically, see the bear flag on the hourly. Want to see if it breaks down. Confirms this morning for continuation to the downside. Google, let's take a look at this. So Google, 1555 pivot level holds in towards 1578 to 1596. Unable to hold 1531 will be tested downside. Leaning bullish neutral on Google. You can see a grind higher there. And last but not least, let's take a look at the VXX. VXX, pivot to the upside today is 29.80. Watch that level. Market gets VIX reclaims that, market will become bearish, for sure sell off. Unable to get through that level, I think you'll see the market start to bounce, break through the pivot. So that's the key level there. Alrighty, so that's the individual names, pre-market tickers that we're looking at today, guys. Thanks for popping in on the stream. Otherwise, we're going to shut it off right now and get ready for the open. See you guys next Wednesday. Or you can check us out, obviously, SpartanTrading.com. Thanks, guys. Alrighty, I'm going to post that Discord link once my admin tells me the link's cut. Or once the YouTube stream's cut, guys. One sec. Copy and paste it, get it ready for you.